downloading. Okay, we are now live. So to let our guests know, this is the Harford County work session on our Board of Ed bills. And this is a work session different than our normal county delegation meetings on Thursday mornings. So welcome to our guests. Everyone will have 2 minutes. We have 11 speakers giving testimony tonight on whatever bill. And they have 2 minutes to speak, and then we will have to cut you off right at the end of 2 minutes. And then Ms. Robichaud will call the next speaker up. And then you will be, once you are finished, you will be muted, and there will be no interaction during the work session of the delegation, House and senators, if they're on the call tonight. So welcome and thank you for being here tonight. And hopefully we will have a productive meeting and work session. So if I could ask Delegate Griffith, could you start us in a word of prayer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together tonight to represent our constituents in Harford County. Please give us the wisdom to make good decisions, work collaboratively, and the ability to hear the concerns of our constituents. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. And then we'll have Delegate Arkan. Is she on? Yes.
I don't see her.
Okay. All righty. Delegate Johnson, would you lead us in the pledge?
Delegate Arkin's on her way in. She's
okay. All right. Thank you. You're on mute.
All right, let's fix that.
That's okay.
I pledge allegiance
to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And yes, I totally forgot that Delegate Arkan was late in committee today in Judiciary. They have a habit of running longer than most of the committees in Judiciary. So she was going to be a little bit late, but she'll be on her way. Again, one other stipulation is that when you are speaking, giving your testimony, if you would please be on video and record, and remember to unmute yourself. So we will begin, call the meeting to order. And Cindy, if you would call the first speaker.
The first speaker is Jillian Miller.
Hello.
Delegate Thomas is coming in.
Okay, Jillian, go ahead. You can start.
Okay, wanted to start by saying that
Could you please put yourself on camera?
I am on camera, but I'm reading from what I wrote down on my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
So if
Now
I
you're
knew
on
it wouldn't
camera.
have shown both screens, I would have logged in on my tablet.
Okay, you're fine then.
Sorry
Go ahead.
about that.
That's okay.
You'll get to see all my beauty in a second.
We did
I'm a
see
resident.
you.
I'm a resident of District 30.
Oh, you muted yourself.
The bills that were proposed on February 10th from this group. I wanted to make sure that you are realistically aware of what goes on in our schools and with the school board and how they have been operating. I think that if we have technology that works well, there's no need for us to regress to the old way just to have a political talking piece. The board meeting virtually works. And for anyone stating that it's unfair, that they don't have the option to voice their opinion to the board, they're just making it up. The board is very responsive, which is more than I can say for the county council. I have sent emails to the board and gotten a phone call within 24 hours with people who can address my concerns participating in the response. How would you all like to be in that person's place and deal with some of the things that are going on, them being bashed, just for people to come to the meetings to bash them? There's no point. They don't want an actual response. They don't have an actual or factual point, just looking for some public limelight to use it for publicity in their campaign for office. Most of the people that go and complain are looking to run for office. And by addressing these concerns, I feel like we're just perpetuating the same mindset. In regards to the proposed bills, shrinking the size of the board by 2 or 3 members seems to not be in the best interest of our already stressed board members, and an increase to the stipend does not fix the stress. From a constituent's point of view, the way Delegate Griffin and the majority of this group brushed off the safety concern of the board members and the possible ADA implications was very concerning to me. These are not minor details. and should be treated as a major concern. I would implore that prior to making decisions on these bills, you all put yourselves in the shoes of the board members and get a majority consensus, not just listen to the loud minority bombarding your emails with petitions and tyrannical messages, and do what's right. That's all that I'm asking. We trust that you guys are going to do what's right on our behalf.
Okay,
That's
thank
2
you.
minutes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Miller. Excellent job. We
You're
appreciate hearing from you and taking your time out this evening. So who do we have up next?
We have Christy Crawford-Smith.
Okay, Christy?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Christy Crawford-Smith, and I am the president of the Harford County Education Association. HCEA is the exclusive bargaining unit for 75% of HCPS employees, and that includes certificated staff and education support professionals. I am also an educator and the proud parent of 3 Harford County Public School students. Regarding SB 908, HB 603, and HB 334, I am proposing that our delegation consider adding an additional layer of accountability and stakeholder input to the appointment process by creating a school board nominating council. In my mind, I envision this as a 13-member council, which could consist of a variety of stakeholders, including the PTA, the NAACP, the Special Education Parent Advisory, Student Council, Chamber of Commerce, a higher ed partner, 1 seat for each HCPS employee group, and then also 3 members for the county executive. The charge of this group would be to review all of the applications and then submit the most qualified candidates to the county executive for their consideration, potentially having at least 2 candidates submitted for each open spot. A few of the other comments regarding bills that I mentioned, please consider providing the appointed Board of Ed member or members with the same voting rights as the elected members. And also, although I do see value in staggering terms, because I did hear that discussion in the last delegation meeting, please consider not appointing someone to change seats in the middle of the school year during the budget cycle or the middle of the school year. That is kind of problematic to change who is making those decisions. And just to put this out again, over 130 educators have resigned from HCPS from September through January. They include not only classroom teachers, but paraprofessionals who are supporting our students with special needs, along with a variety of other staff who have direct. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. You did pretty good. I think you got most of it in. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Cindy?
The next person is Dr. David Bauer.
Dr. Bauer. Is he on? Yep, I see him.
Thank you.
Welcome. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so good evening, delegates. I'm speaking this evening to strongly oppose all of the proposed bills impacting the Harford County Board of Education and Superintendent. To quote Delegate Griffith, no. This was his answer at the February 10th delegation meeting around timestamp 51 minutes 30 seconds to the question of whether he had asked the Board of Education about his bill to disallow virtual meetings. It's the same answer to a lot of questions about these bills. So, to get to yes, I have some suggestions. First, talk with us, with the Board of Education members. You can request meetings with us individually or as a whole group. A few of you all and a few of us can meet and talk without any Open Meetings Act issues. Based on watching your delegation meetings, I recommend some combination of delegates Riley, McComas, Lasante, and Johnson. Which brings me to my second suggestion. During the most recent delegation meeting, several of you suggested that some sort of bills concerning the Board of Education were overdue. Okay, then let's talk about what should be done. But let's not start with a delegate who says he's, quote, sick and tired of the indoctrination of our children, end quote, nor the delegate who calls us hypocritical. At a time when public school systems across the nation are under attack, this looks bad. 2 minutes is not nearly enough time to communicate all of the problems with the current bills, so please reach out to schedule time for actual discussion with us. And as an ending reminder, each of you individually is paid more for being a delegate than the compensation given to the entire Harford Board of Education. And that would remain true even if you increase the stipend as
That's 2 minutes.
specified.
Okay, wrap up, please.
Even if you increase the stipend as specified and added an additional board member. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bauer. We appreciate you coming this evening. And who do we have next?
Josie Cosgrove. Delegate Arakan is coming in.
Okay, great. And
Want me to wait for her?
no, go ahead. We're good.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you this evening. I oppose the proposal of an elected school superintendent. The board creates a search committee to identify the best candidates to be appointed superintendent. There are a considerable number of qualified candidates in the United States who have already proven themselves to be effective leaders through previous experiences as a superintendent. Why should we limit ourselves to the small pool of candidates in Harford County? We are no longer a small rural community. 38,000 children's future is dependent on us. If we want us to be a great school system, we need to think big. Even if we were to choose a candidate from Harford County, the cost and time associated with running for office may prohibit the most impactful and qualified candidate for running for the position. Secondly, the position should be a nonpartisan position. As much as we will disagree that politics won't play into it, you're kidding yourself because it always does. Next, I oppose the proposal that prohibits the Board of Education from holding virtual meetings on days when school is in session. I recall attending an in-person meeting with you at the Abingdon Library in the fall. Why aren't we there now? Don't criticize others for what you're doing yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Popper, and thank you for
That
being
was
with
Ms.
us this
Cosgrove.
evening.
Are you ready for the next?
Mhm.
The next one is Cynthia Popper.
It's actually Poper. Thank you.
Popper? I thought maybe it was.
It is. Good evening. I find the fury of activity to change the makeup and the way the Harford County Board of Education is determined an enigma. There's nothing about the board's makeup, elected versus appointed, or the way the members are determined, elected versus appointed and appointed by whom, that is broken or needs fixing. 9 members is appropriate, enough to even out biases or political agendas, but not so many as to make the decision-making difficult. It works for the Supreme Court. To lessen that to 7 would allow for political agendas to become more prevalent and allow fewer points of view. 3 appointed members also allows for the evening out of biases and allows for more diversity amongst the board members. 3 appointed members also allow for the opportunity to provide more experience from various business and industry backgrounds. Basically, 3 appointed members means that we have the greatest opportunity to ensure that the Board of Education represents as much diversity across as many areas and criteria as possible. Allowing the appointed members to be chosen by the county executive is leading us down the garden path to completely politicizing the BOE races. It allows the county executive to reward and cherry pick political cronies to stack the BOE. And requiring 5 affirmative votes to approve from the council is further entrenching that same behavior. Have we learned nothing from the most recent council battle with this same type of provision? Board of Ed races and appointees need to be as far as possible away from traditional partisan politics. There should be no political backscratching, no political payback, and no political party loyalty called upon in the management of our schools. Allowing the county executive to present potential appointments to the governor allows another step away from the local political fray. Decisions by the Board of Education need to be made not with political overtones, but in the best interests of the students and staff.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming this evening.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have Tina Graff.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hold on, I gotta get back in my email now. Hold on one second, because I'm trying to do this on my phone and on my laptop, and it just backed out. As an employee of Harford County Public Schools, I'm shocked and disillusioned by hearing you speak at the committee session on February 10th. I also find it quite ironic that you met via Zoom to discuss our Board of Education meeting in person. Our teachers, staff, board are exhausted. Many will quit at the end of this year because of fanatical parents and lack of support by our local government. Delegate Griffith cited concerns throughout the county, which included hearing from staff, teachers, parents, etc., regarding the Board of Ed working remotely, and he claims his bill was broadly supported. This is false. Maybe he heard from some of our angry parents. Not one of my coworkers care if our board meets virtually. The only people that care are the ones that hate Dr. Bolson, our board, and call our schools indoctrination camps. My cat just messed me up. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You want to, I like completely, my computer now is like, hold on.
You want to finish up ad-libbing?
I can't
yeah.
ad lib because I have something prepared, and if my stupid cat would not have messed me up, I think I would have been just fine. So now, I'm so sorry. All right, I think I'm back. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. I'm sorry. I hope you were able to watch the video and pictures I sent you. This is not just banging on windows. These are credible threats made to our board members, superintendent, and union president with personal addresses posted publicly. I also hope you saw your fellow delegate, Arakan, leading chants to fire Dr. Bolson and when she called us communists. Now tell me why any of us should trust you or believe you are supporting us. Maybe you're confusing central office employees working from home when you speak about being fair to everyone. If so, please modify your bill to reflect this. But honestly, we don't care, as this is the trend as well. This bill was created to appeal to our most volatile and hostile citizens of Harford County that are attempting to infiltrate our board, and you are supporting them. You don't hear from the minority of people like me because many of us are too scared to speak out. Secondly, did Delegate Impalaria do any research before he spent our taxpayer money proposing his legislation? Our Board of Ed already has an attorney representing them and giving them guidance, and it's not just on pending appeals. Perhaps you need to look at our budget because it's right there. Or you could have asked anyone on our board because they would have talked to you. I'm begging you as an employee to dismiss all of your bills and come up with something that will support us. Thank you.
That's 2 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Graff, for coming this evening.
Next, we have James Thornton.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Thornton.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the delegation. My name again is Jim Thornton, President of the Harford County Caucus of African American Leaders and a former Board of Ed member. As I indicated in previous testimony, the caucus is opposed to all of the bills that are being presented here this evening regarding the reorganization of the board and House Bill 336 as it relates to an elected superintendent. We are hard pressed to understand why so much effort and time is being allocated to these issues. It is our position that the current Board of Ed structure isn't broken. It appears there are a number of members of this delegation that is simply trying to gain political clout or points with their base. Rather than focus on these bills, I think you're misguided in that respect. There are many consequences, but let me just cite one quickly. Empowering one person, the Harford County Executive, or to include the council as one of the bills is proposed, will provide too much power or control over the Board of Ed. Jurisdictions that have granted a county executive, one official or the county council with 5 votes, with the same power being contemplated here, have seen negative results. As a former Harford County Board of Ed member, I can pinpoint the severe consequences of having 1/3 of board members appointed by the same official who preside, or one member preside over his funding. For instance, the decision to build a new school should be based on what is right for the students, community, and taxpayers, not to accommodate the personal preference of a county executive or to get 5 county council members of the same party to go along with him as well. So I think also the lack of diversity on
That's
the Board of Ed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. Okay. Next.
Next, we have Cassandra Beverly.
Good evening, Chair Riley and members of the Harford County delegation. My name is Cassandra Beverly, and I served as a prior member of the Harford County Board of Education. I'm here to testify in opposition to the bills that have been proposed. HB 603, which would reduce the number of appointed members from 3 to 1 and change the appointment from being done by the governor to the county executive, subject to the advice and consent of the county council, with 5 votes being necessary. I recall during my time on the school board that there was a tremendous amount of work, particularly for folks who were volunteers. I want to repeat that volunteers, even though some of us are elected, the number of hours that were required to be put in order to try to fully understand how the Board of Education functions, particularly if you came as an outsider and were not as familiar with education issues. I remember it being very helpful that we could break down the work amongst the 9 of us so that some of us could try to become somewhat subject matter experts on some of the areas. Jim Thornton, as a matter of fact, was one of our subject matter experts in looking at the budget. There is a tremendous amount of information that you have to learn. And if you were to have someone rotate off at 2 years, that would be the point at which they were really just beginning to grasp what was going on in terms of dealing with the budget and trying to understand some of the many other subject matters that we had to learn about.
That's 2 minutes, Ms. Beverly.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Beverly. We appreciate you coming in this evening.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Carol Mueller. Ms. Mueller, you're muted.
Getting there. Sorry, I was a little
Okay.
slow. I am the current vice president of the Harford County Board of Education, for those of you who didn't know that. I strongly oppose all the bills that you have up here, and so many people have said so much of it so eloquently. I don't know that I could do as well as they did. I do think we should keep 9 members. Right now, I am serving on the MABE Legislature Committee. I served on the committee that set up the rules and worked towards switching to virtual school when we needed to do that. I work on, of course, being the vice president, I have those responsibilities. I work on another MABE committee for their conferences to make sure that people have educational opportunities. The 2-year term is not enough. And it is a volunteer position. I mean, I kind of laughed when I saw the suggestion that they gave a raise, because who cares? That's not why you're doing it. It might keep some people from doing it, because I spend a minimum of 25 to 30 hours a week on this job. And if you don't, then you aren't putting into it what you're supposed to put into it. This is not just a little, I go to a meeting on Monday night. And I listened to Tina Graff talk about, we go to these meetings and we spend the first 2 to 3 hours sometimes just having people scream and yell at us, not even things that we necessarily have control over, like the state mask mandate. But we go every time and listen to all this. Now, there are some people that have been attending virtually. There are also a lot of people that make virtual comments to the meeting. Everything is live streamed. There's a Zoom or a Teams meeting, excuse me. So people have an opportunity to participate. There's many people in the community that don't feel free to come to our meetings because they don't feel safe. We don't feel safe. I go every time, but I don't feel safe while I'm there. I always have to have somebody walk me out to my car. My
Ms.
husband
Mueller,
used to
that's 2
drop me
minutes.
off.
Thank you, Ms. Mueller, for coming this evening, for your
Thank you.
testimony.
Okay. Next, we have Miss Marla Posey Moss.
Thank you. I oppose all the bills that are being offered through the delegation in the Harford County Senators. At this point of time, I believe a hybrid board is the best way to keep politics out of our education. All members of the Board of Education come from Harford County. They are local, and it is important to acknowledge that the voting base for the gubernatorial and presidential elections are different. In jest, I honestly do believe that none of these bills specifically address the education concerns in our county, especially those pertaining to local control. Except for House Bill 599, the remaining bills that seek to redirect authorization for board appointment to the county executive or expands consideration for a vote among Harford County populace continues to undermine the needs of our children to have diverse representation at the board level. Let's take Senate Bill 908, Harford County Board of Education Appointment of Members Alterations. For example, where it states that in appointing members to the County Board of Education, the county executive shall ensure, to the extent practicable, the total makeup and County Board of Education reflects the gender, ethnic, and racial diversity of the county. Well, let's look at the county demographics. I would argue that there are no members of the current Board of Education that identifies as Asian American or Hispanic, thus mirroring the Harford County Council. Nonetheless, according to the April 2000 census, Harford County is 78.8% white and 14.8% Black. The current Board of Ed is 72.7% white and 27.2% Black, almost twice as high as the county, and counts for a gubernatorial appointment. Hence, with Senate Bill 908 purporting to ensure racial diversity of the county, it fails miserably. As stated in the past, I oppose any educational bill that increases the likelihood of minimizing diversity within the Board of Ed, be it countywide elections. Let's consider House Bill 336. This bill isn't about local control either, because the law already states that the superintendent has to be a resident of Harford County at least 30 days before filing for candidacy. That means someone from Alaska can establish residency 30 days prior and run for county superintendent. There's already a removal process in which the state superintendent of schools can be removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Posey Moss. We appreciate you coming out this evening. We have one more.
It's Soraya Ben.
Thank you. I want to speak about all the bills, and I'm just going to say no to all of them. I'm going to start with the HB 336, the history of electing superintendents at the state level. There are 12 states that elect, 38 that appoint. That's at the state level. Imagine at the local level, you have these campaigns. You'd make it actually more of a partisan issue. And there is no evidence, quote unquote, from Michael Hansen at the Brookings Institute that shows any consistent evidence of any consistent difference. So if you want to have accountability for your superintendents, you should actually address it in the contractual issues. As a 20+ year educator, I'm telling you, that's where you need to address it. You shouldn't put it in legislation. HB 599 virtual, leave it to the board. The board can make those decisions. I think everybody spoke to that. I don't need to actually belabor that. 908, altering up the appointed board. I'm just wondering if in any of these bills, have any of you spoken to any of the local leaders in your communities? And I'm one of the people that are in the community to advocate, and I never hear from any. I write. I'm part of the Maryland Legislative Coalition. I'm out there advocating all the time. I never hear from any of you guys ever to talk about policy, and it doesn't seem any knowledge about educational policy. The language that's contained in these bills. The community that are most impacted by these bills, it doesn't seem to take any sensitivity in the language. And it's clearly you're marginalizing people that are already marginalized. You need to think more about that.
That's your 2 minutes, Miss Ben.
Serve the people. Serve the people.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate all of our guests this evening to come in and testify on these bills. You will be muted at this time. You're more than welcome to stay on. The work session is public, or you can get off of this and then go on the YouTube, but we will just basically have you muted. So there are no questions and answers from the delegation to our guests. or anyone else. So the work session is just between the delegation, House and Senate, if they're joining us this evening. So thank you again, guests and delegation. We will now go into our work session. It is 6:31. Work session will start with, I guess, we will do the two that are kind of similar, talking about the membership. And that is House Bill 603 and House Bill 334. Yes. And those bills also, Charity, our legal counsel, did an excellent chart. So hopefully you have that. And she just basically laid out where all three of the bills, including the senators, where it all lays out and the differences. So we can maybe do it point by point. But we will let Delegate Griffith, yours is House Bill 603. So if you want to make your pitch right now quickly, then we'll go to Delegate Blair. He can make his pitch, and then we will decide what we're going to do.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I wanted my bill to be very narrow in scope and address just one specific area, which is the makeup of the Board of Education. I agree about removing politics from the process as much as possible, even though there's elected members and gubernatorial appointment versus county executive appointment. It's still a political appointment, no matter who's making the appointment. So I was hoping to reduce the amount of political but the political appointments done in this, moving it down to one. So my bill, and I wanted it all elected, because one thing to note is we're only one of 3 counties in the state of Maryland with any gubernatorial appointments to the Board of Education. It's us, Baltimore County, and Caroline County. Prince George's, Montgomery, Baltimore City, Howard, and Arundel, I can go on and on, don't have any gubernatorial appointments to their Board of Education. Montgomery's entirely elected. If it's good for those counties, it's certainly good for us as well. So again, what my bill does, it removes the 3 members appointed by the governor, replaces it with one member appointed by the county executive, confirmed by a supermajority of the county council, as they do all appointments, and brings the Board of Education closer to the people. I don't know if I should talk about the senator's bill or not.
That's fine. Since earlier you said that you would be happy to morph into that one. So you can go ahead and explain that one as well.
Certainly is will of the delegation. I'll support the will of the delegation. Their bill is just like mine, with the exception of, instead of 1 member appointed, 3 members appointed, which will bring some of that balance that some of the people testified to tonight of having 3 appointed members. I certainly prefer 1 appointed member for some of the reasons people stated. But if it's the will of the delegation to conform to the Senate bill, to have 3 members appointed by the county executive, I am willing to conform to that.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Griffith. That was a nice job, to the point, concise. So if Delegate Inclair could be short and sweet the same way, that would be great. Just might want to point out the main differences.
Okay, well, I know Delegate McComas and I have been here for 20 years. We were here when we created the hybrid board, and that was a compromise. It was not what the public wanted. They wanted a fully elected school board. I agree with Delegate Griffin. We should have a fully elected school board, but unfortunately, because of the uneven number, it does create a problem. And I do believe that having the 1 member appointed by the county executive is a compromise. And listening to people at the public meeting that we had at the library, it was brought up that they did not feel that the person appointed by the county executive should have the ability to vote on the budget and have a full voting right, just was there to break ties. And I thought, well, if they're going to be there, they should at least be able to vote on the same issues that the student members want to vote on. And if there's ties, they should be able to vote for that. My bill also puts in an increase in stipends for the school board members, because they have been requesting an increase in stipends for the job that they do. And while it's a small increase, it's still an increase. And I'm trying to wrap everything into one bill to take care of it. Also, the conversation that they should have their own attorney who can, give them his separate opinion than the one that comes from the school system. And also seeing the letter that you sent over from the school system saying that the school board does have analysts, but they don't. They work for the school system. They don't work for the school board. Under that philosophy, everybody works for the school board, every single person. And that's just not the way it is. So I believe the bill takes on many of the problems that have been discussed over the last 20 years. I mean, I know people have opinions right now, but the opinions that I've been listening to is they do want a fully elected school board. Willing to do a compromise for that and to increase the stipends and to make sure that the board has the tools that they need to do their job. So, if the superintendent wants to say, hey, we're all going to wear a mask, and they confer with their attorney and says, no, if you don't want the students to wear a mask, then the school board has the right to override him. But right now, the only person that they have to go to is the attorney that works for the school system. And that's just not fair. I mean, no one would go into a courtroom with the attorney for the other side representing them too. So, and as far as the senator's bill, I've had no one come to me and say they want the county executive to pick 3 members. So my position on that bill was no one requested it. So I don't know why we would do that.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate and Flair. You did an excellent job as well, keeping it short and sweet to the point. We'll go ahead and open up to discussion now, but I do want to point out one of your points because we might, with the lawyer and the analyst. Okay, according to, I spoke to several people and we've heard it tonight. Some of the past school board members testified about this as well, that the attorney that they use and the analyst that they use for the budget, actually the school board hires those people. So that.
And it's not true. Teresa, you can say it all you want and you can read one letter. That is not true. They work for the school system.
I've heard it several times. They were not hired by the superintendent. They were not hired by the.
No, they're not. They're hired by the school system.
School staff. They were hired by the school board, work directly for the school board. That's, they put it in writing. We've had several testify. So I know
with that meeting, Ms. Beverly was there and she didn't feel that they had their own attorney and she didn't feel that they had their own analyst, and she sat on the school board and she's an attorney, so she should know who she was working with. But at that meeting, she said clearly it would be good that they had their own.
I don't quite remember that going that way, but anyway.
That's right. No,
they do.
We all have a right to our opinion.
And the issue right now is that the ones that are elected, they allow, okay, I know some of them may not, but they may agree, but they're basically allowing the superintendent to run the board opposed to standing up for themselves and allowing their lawyer to work for them and their analyst to work directly for them. But they are hired and interviewed and hired by the school board. So that again, I'm not.
Have you ever been there for that hiring? I mean, you're speaking,
I have not.
Well, then you don't know.
Have you?
So let's be honest, you don't know.
But have you? I mean,
I've been to these meetings for 20 years and I know that the attorney for the school works for the school system, does not work for the school board. And never has. Always represents the school system.
Right. Well, that's what we have in writing. So I can only go by with what they've said and what we've received in writing.
Just because it's in writing doesn't mean it's true.
Right. Well, and then on the other point that we received information on was that normally we cannot mandate that the county can put money towards those 2 positions. So the county executive does not have that power to do that. And we're trying to verify through council here, through the AG's department, but we don't have an answer as of yet. through the AG's department if we can do that through legislation here. It seems like no one, as of right now, can seem to answer that question. But my point last week was the same thing. If the county executives could have done this for generations, believe me, they would have been down here putting in legislation and saying, hey, I want in my budget the school board to pay blah, blah, blah. So I have a feeling that that's not possible, but we don't know for a fact as of yet, but just to throw that out there, we will find that out. I've had several people to say that it cannot be done. But we will verify that as well. So my thought is, two aspects of your bill are huge. So maybe let's just concentrate this year on the actual school board membership and then move on if we feel like these items, we find out that we can or cannot do them.
Well, this is
do that
Delegate Raleigh,
next year.
this is just a work group meeting.
Right.
So please don't tell me what we're going to put in and what we're not going to put in. We'll discuss it. We'll vote on that.
I did not.
And as far as the county executive goes, the county executive has always been a natural adversary of the school board, not wanting to give them what they need. So why the county executive would want to give them an attorney to help them do their job more correctly? I guess he wouldn't. So, I mean, if we're going to talk, let's talk in truths.
Well, he probably
and not
would.
And double talk. So
I'm not double talking, and I did not tell you, Delegate Blair, you're out of order because I did not tell you what you were going to do or what we were going to do. I said I have a suggestion to make, and I'm in discussion, just like everybody else has their hands up, and they're going to have discussion, and they may or may not say the same thing, but have discussion. So nobody's telling you what you have to do. I'm just saying we have written things about two aspects of your current bill. So if we want to pass something this year, it might be a good idea to concentrate on the membership. That's exactly what I said. And then we could work on yours next year. I didn't tell you you had to do that. So please set the record straight.
Well, I think we'll make our decision.
We'll move to other questions. So Delegate McComas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we have two different, well, actually we have multiple opinions on what is and what isn't. And I would like to know what the timeline is for making a decision. And I would like to double check on a couple issues, talk to some folks and see, what's what, because I was always under the impression that they didn't have their own financial person. And in fact, I spoke with a former board member, and I remember he actually testified, and I'm not going to put him on, because he's not testifying today, but he said that the school system budget is very much different than any budgets that he was used to, and it's a learning curve. And so basically, I kind of thought, if they had their own person that was their person that could analyze that budget to assist them, that would be helpful. The other thing is, I know that they had an attorney who represents the superintendent, but also kind of advises the school board, and they're not independent. But I know that when there's appeals to student or teacher, they appeal decisions, there's an attorney that comes in, it's Greg Zoka, and he basically represents and advises the legality or the non-legality of and talks to the members that are on that appeal board that makes the decision, and everything's confidential, so they can't discuss it. But the point is that that's a separate person, but I'm not sure when they have the Greg doesn't go to those meetings, whereas if someone had a question, it would be, well, Mr. Spicer. So I think I would like to check those two things out. And, it was great hearing the issue about we've got some great public servants that are on the school board, past and present, and hopefully future. But I just thought that I think they get either 300 or 500 a month. And I do know that they spend a lot of time. And people that I know in the past spent a tremendous amount of time. So anyway, that we're on the school board. So I would just like to just double check those two issues. So I want to know what kind of timeline and time crunch we're on. It's like, when are we going to have the hearings and those kind of things? So we know we've got some time to check. So that's all I ask. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, I can answer part of the question, but not the entire question, because we would have to vote. Two of the bills, Delegate Inflair's two bills that he has have had hearings already in Ways and Means. I believe it was sponsor only. And that was last Thursday, if I'm correct. And I believe Delegate Griffiths has two of his on the schedule for Ways and Means this Thursday. Is that correct? This Thursday. So there we are on that. And then we'll have to vote on our timeline of when we're going to have, decide what we're going to do. We have delegates. Before I call on to Delegate Schlega, could I ask if there's any guest or anybody that is using the chat? Please do not. We are not looking at the chat, and we do not use that during testimony here in the Maryland General Assembly. So please do not use the chat because we are not looking at them or considering that. So thank you very much. Delegate Schlega. Where should go? Oh, off mute, please.
Thank you. You think I'd know by now. Thanks, Chair Riley, for some of these rules with the chat, this virtual, and I can't wait till we're back together. I guess the good news is we do get to hear from people from Harford County, and they don't have to drive an hour plus down here to talk to us, on a Tuesday night. So, technology has some advantages. So my question was similar to Delegate McComas. We're going to have those other bill hearings Thursday, so we could potentially vote on those bills. Do you think this Thursday or next Thursday? I know it just takes a motion and a second, but are we thinking about having a voting session, or what are you thinking, Chair Ryland?
At this point, I was hoping to possibly do that this evening, but it looks like other people still have some questions. And so we will hold them, but this coming Thursday, the agenda is already out and filled. So we would have to wait, or we would have to call another emergency meeting for voting purposes for our purpose only. Okay. And I guess because of the rules, it's too late to start Thursday's meeting a little bit early to have a voting session to, move these bills out. That would be up to us. We can send out a revised, but we do have guests coming on both of the bills. So it would be kind of, unless they would agree, and it's kind of late at this point. So. Okay. Thank you so much. So, we can always do the half an hour earlier and then make it a completely different Zoom, do that, and then go over. And then come back. Okay. Just everybody kind of think about that while we're doing this meeting, and then we'll come back to that. Okay. That sounds great. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. We have Delegate Lasanti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am trying to summarize, I guess, in my own mind, what issues are being identified in all three of these bills. So, one is compensation. So the compensation of the Board of Ed. Access to technical support staff. We've had some conversations about that, and I'll come back to that one. The number of appointed board members and who appoints those board members. So that's really the four issues and we have different iterations of what that looks like, but those are the four issues that I think this delegation needs to focus on. For me to do that, I need some additional information. I know that we've had a conversation about the technical staff, that Harford County Public Schools has an attorney, Patrick Spicer. The Board of Ed has an attorney, Greg Zoka. I'd like to hear from them. I'd like to invite them to a delegation meeting so we can understand what their roles are and what support staff, how they support each entity, meaning the Board of Ed versus the school system, and where they see conflicts, to see if there's any clarifications that need to be made. The second is there's been a lot of reference to a budget analyst. I don't know if that is an auditor, if that is a budget analyst. I don't know what that position is. So if we could find out, and also I'd like to hear from them as well. because on the county council, we did that during my tenure on the county council, was to create a council auditor, which is a very different position than an analyst. So I'd like to just point that out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Lasante. Good points. Delegate Arcan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just want to say I have got Baltimore County Delegation Subcommittee meetings right before our delegation meetings. So it's really hard for me to get to our meetings on time and really hard for me to get there early. I almost just can't, unfortunately. So I would like to log my request that we vote on this tonight. I don't see a reason to continue to delay and wait. I think I've heard from my constituency quite effectively, and I know exactly how I plan to vote. So I would just prefer to move forward.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Arcan. Delegate Asante, could you put your hand down, please? Thanks. So I can call on you again if you need.
I apologize.
That's okay. Delegate Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate Delegate Employer's efforts on his bill. My concern is not with what he's trying to do with some of the other components, but I don't want to muddy the water between what my bill and the senator's bill is trying to do and some of the other things. We certainly want to make sure that the Board of Education has all the support and staff and all the resources they need to be as effective as they need to be. But I think they're two separate issues. I would certainly love to have a conversation with Ed Employer if he was willing to break off the other portions of the Board of Ed bill into a separate bill. So maybe strip off the Board of Ed makeup and just have that bill talk about some of the things we can look at and again and pursue that route. But for the purposes of this meeting and certainly what myself and many members of the delegation and the senators are trying to do, I would like to try to break that off in separate conversations. And I'm certainly prepared to vote tonight as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Griffith. We have Delegate Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for putting this together tonight. I originally had brought this suggestion up to get together for a work session because we had two bills with some good stuff in each bill, I do believe. But my question is there any will of the bill sponsors to work to pull out the best of both bills and come up with a good product that they could both sponsor? If that's not the case, then we have these two bills before us that we have to consider.
Correct. Good point. Okay. Thank you, Delegate Johnson. We have Delegate Griffith is up and then Delegate Impleria.
I was going to put my hand to respond to Delegate Johnson's comment. I'm certainly, I think these are two separate bills. I believe Delegate Polaris is two separate bills. If there's a way he's willing to split those off and then take up each issue independently, that's.
Oh, you froze. Okay, Delegate Griffith froze up. So we will go to Delegate Impelerio.
Now, I thought this meeting was tonight to speak about how we could work these bills in.
Sorry, Delegate. Hold on one second, Delegate Impelerio. Delegate Griffith, we'll come back to you because you froze up. So we're going to take Delegate Impelerio. We'll come back. Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry, Delegate Impelerio.
No, we have plenty of time to meet, and we've met the night before, and I've heard Delegate McComas has questions, and Delegate Johnson has questions, and Delegate Lasante has questions. And I think those questions deserve to be answered. And I think we can sit down and put a good bill together. There's no reason why we can't do that. And there's no reason to rush this. And that was the big thing last year, was such a big rush. Well, unfortunately, you as chair didn't put a bill together, and Delegate Griffin did, and I did. And, we have good bills before us, and we should work on those bills. And they're not two separate bills. They're the same subject matter. If you're going to have people, should they be paid more? They should get a larger stipend. And if we're going to try to correct the school board, why would we correct just one problem when there's more than one problem out there? So, I think it's nice that you were sent a letter from the school system, but that information has been verified. Hasn't been verified to my satisfaction. I know it hasn't been verified to Delegate McComas' satisfaction or Delegate Lasante's satisfaction or Delegate Johnson's satisfaction. We're looking for answers. So, I mean, if you want to rush and vote something like, I think you're doing the citizens of Harford County an injustice when we're here for 90 days and we have time to work on this. And the committee's not going to vote on this.
Thank you, Delegate Polari. Appreciate that. And Delegate Shalega.
Did Delegate Griffith want to come back? Remember, he froze, and then I'll go after him. Did you have something else you were adding?
Basically, just to sum up, I believe there are different issues. I don't want to muddy the water too much on the narrow scope of what my bill does. And I certainly don't want to seize the process up now, right at the finish line. We've worked too hard going back to last session on this, heard to so many people. I think we all have the information. We need to make a decision, and I'm going to urge a vote tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Shalega.
Thank you. So, I'm sorry that Delegate Impalaria has aggressively questioned your leadership, Delegate Riley, and I do not agree with that. So, I hope that Delegate Impalaria will take it down a notch. She's done a good job, and it's not necessary. So there are, I agree, a couple different issues. The makeup of the board, be it appointed by the governor, by the county exec, and how many is clearly, an issue that we've talked about. The other issues with the attorney, the budget analyst, and the compensation, are both related, but clearly different issues. So I just thought I needed to weigh in because I think that we should all be working together here and not be, using inflammatory language. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Shalega. I appreciate that. I do have an appoint. I do, because I know that Delegate Impalaria and Delegate Lasante and Delegate Johnson, and I did as well. We were talking about, in Delegate Impalaria's bill, where he does have the attorney and the analyst, auditor / not sure which. But anyway, I need to ask those who are, I see Delegate Impalaria's hand up, so maybe he can answer this question. We did get the letter from the school board stating that, and I've heard from several members of the board stating that those two employees are paid and picked and chose by the school board. So apparently you're not happy with that. So my question to you, what is it do you need? Once you received that letter, did you pick up the phone and call board members or call the school system to verify it? Or what is it going to take now that you're going to believe the words, on the paper or the voice over the phone? What is it do you want at this point to verify whether they
I think it's easy.
Members?
It's exactly what Ronald Reagan said. Trust but verify. Delegate Lasante said she would like to have a conversation with them. There's no reason why we can't have a meeting with our attorney that works for our board and them to find out what the real truth of the matter is. I don't think that letter was that letter was not written by their attorney. That was their spokesperson. So, that would not be, I would say that is not the degree. And as far as, Delegate Shalega's comments, we're here for answers. And if someone's refusing to give me an answer, and I'm going to say it, I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. We're talking about our kids here and our kids' education. That's what we're talking about. We deserve answers, just like those people who come to the school board demanding answers. They have a right to answers. So I'm not for rushing this. If you guys want to rush it, go ahead and rush it.
We're not rushing it.
for
I'm just saying we've had
Well, you've heard
bills
from
last
4
year
people.
a little bit.
You've heard from 4 people tonight that are a member of this delegation that want better answers. That's it.
Correct. I think all of us want answers, but I'm just saying
Well, we're not getting them answers if we vote
We had
tonight.
the interim. We had the interim. We had these bills in delegation meeting. This is the first I've heard that you wanted anything other different, and you didn't make any phone calls. So I'm just pointing out that this is, you can't keep using a delay metrics. We want answers, but when you think of things that you need answers to, we have to get the answers. You can't wait a week later and say,
No,
oh, well, you
I
should
got
call
that
a meeting.
letter. I got that letter from the delegation that came from the spokesperson for the schools on Friday night. That's when I got it. And I
That's when
called
I got it.
Susan, and today is Tuesday, and I called Mary Ann, and we wanted those answers. And that's
Well,
what we're looking for.
I just asked you, Delegate and Blair, what answer do you
I just
need?
told
want
you.
it in writing? You want
I
to hear
told you.
from them? You want to call them?
Arrange another meeting. I just told you, arrange another meeting.
Yep, I heard you.
With,
You answered.
with our attorney and have her do a little research. She's quite qualified to do that. And with the people from the school system. And let's find out what the truth is, who these people. Be nice to hear from personnel, what their actual, there's got to be a definition, a title of what they do. And maybe the real answer would be that there is a title for them and they're not doing what they're titled to do. So let's find out the truth of that issue. I mean, look, we have a liquor board, and a liquor board has an attorney, and a liquor board has a budget analyst. I think our students deserve just as much as liquor store owners. They really deserve more.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Palaria. I see two more questions. I believe Delegate Arcan was first, and then Delegate McComas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just want to sort of wrap this up with a bow. When I said I wanted to move a bill, I did not mean that we should skip. I agree with Delegate Impalaria. We should take some time and really think about the pieces of his bill that don't overlap with the makeup. I'm ready to move on the makeup because I'd like to see the Senate and the House just agree on something, move forward. If it turns out in a year or two we don't like it, the constituencies don't like it, we can come back to it. So I totally agree with Delegate Impalaria. Let's wait and see what the response is. The second response is about his questions about stipend and about the attorney and the budget analyst. So let's put that to the side. Let's wait on it. And then let's move. I like the bill that the senators have offered. I would obviously prefer a fully elected, but we also are bicameral. So I vote we move on the makeup of the board and leave the other pieces until we have more information, just like Delegate Impalaria suggested.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Arcan. Delegate McComas is next.
I just wanted to make a clarification here. The letter that everybody's referring to, and it actually doesn't have a date on it. It's from Jillian Lader, who is the manager of communications. And she says about the attorney, it has been determined to be more fiscally sound to retain a board attorney independent of the school system, which the Board of Education for Harford County currently does not have outside attorney representation as needed. Does to have outside attorney representation is needed. So in other words, if they feel that they need, that there's a conflict or something, then they get Mr. Zoka for specialized things. So they don't have their own attorney because for cost reasons. But the point is that the liquor board has their own attorney, separate from the liquor board. So anyway, I'm not ready to vote on anything tonight, to be honest with you. I want to do a little, I heard what the folks said today. Okay. Just like an hour ago. Okay. I also heard what, that the senators want 3, which we currently have. I heard that I think that the folks want the governor to appoint it. Our senators want to all things are local. So I want a little bit of time to think about which one I want. I like the idea, to be very candid, about staggering the terms. I think 2-year terms are too small, too. I think folks need to have some time on the board. And but I think it's a good idea to stagger them, because then that's going to allow people to learn from the folks that have been there a while. So anyway, I'm just not ready to vote tonight on anything except maybe dinner.
Okay, thank you, Delegate McComas. Okay, so at this point, I hear a couple different things. So I've heard I've heard a couple delegates saying to make a motion to vote tonight. I haven't had a first and a second, so I'm leaving that open to whomever wants to do that. But hearing some other delegates that there's still some questions that need to be answered that they would feel more comfortable with. And the process of getting those folks here to answer those questions, because obviously, letters and so forth is not what we're looking for. They're looking for verbal contact, eye to eye, I'm assuming. So we're open. Delegate
I'll make a
Arkin, do you
motion
have-
that we adjourn
Okay,
this meeting. You want a motion? I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting, and Delegate Riley, that you schedule an additional meeting to discuss these matters, and we'll have plenty of time to vote on them then. That's my motion.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Blair. So there's a motion on the first on the table. I have Delegate Shalega.
Thank you. I would make an amendment to that motion to say schedule a time to vote on these things. So if we need to meet on this again, if we're booked up this Thursday, maybe next Thursday, there's a voting session where, everything gets voted on, and that should certainly give people enough time, but I'll leave the scheduling to you, as that's your prerogative.
Okay, so we have a first to actually to wait and to see if we can get as many people that we spoke about in reference to the attorney and the auditor's analysis, to get them here before the board to answer some of our questions. And now we have an amendment on there to actually kind of, I guess, put a cap on that, on a date of where we speak with these folks, we get our answers, and at that same time, we move forward with the bills, make the changes, and move forward with the bills and have a vote, whether it's yay or nay, up or down. Delegate Impalaria, do you accept that amendment?
No, what I feel is we can be here tomorrow night and do this. We can be here Friday night. We got plenty of time. Look, I got elected to do this job, so I'm not looking at my schedule. This is my schedule. So whatever it is that I have to, so we, to say we can't meet again till Thursday, I don't understand that. We can meet just like we did tonight. We can meet as many times as we need to.
We can have an emergency
meet in a smaller
meeting.
group.
We can have an emergency meeting, but you wanted to
I
hear
wouldn't
from.
call it an emergency meeting. Emergency meetings, we don't
an
have
executive.
time. It's a meeting. We have
work
time.
session. But you wanted to hear from folks from Harford County.
Yeah, I want to hear from
the
the
next
experts.
meeting.
I want to hear from, I guess, the Attorney General's office can give us a better idea. And I'm sure Charity can help with that to find
Yeah.
out what's what.
Yeah, we're working on that already. So I asked her, we just haven't gotten an answer from them as of yet. Delegate Arkin.
I just want to say Susan and I both serve on the Judiciary Committee, and evening meetings are really hard for us. Our committee may still be going right now. So I just wanted to, it may have finally ended, I don't know, but it's hard for us to eat, up our time from our committee, which is also part of our job.
Okay, so evening meetings are not good for judiciary members. Is that what you said? Yes, okay. Alrighty,
Delegate Riley,
Delegate
there's no
Lisanti.
reason that we all have to meet. We don't all have to meet to do this.
Delegate
We can work
Lisanti.
something out. That's.
All right, hold on.
Thank you.
You're out of
Thank
order.
you, Matt.
Delegate Lisanti.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate this, and I appreciate the fact that the delegation is accepting the suggestion that we bring the stakeholders. We've heard from the public tonight, which I really appreciate their thoughtful input, and now we are moving to the more technical piece of this bill and requesting that the technical staff for the board present to us. May I ask, have we? My question in last week at the board meeting, at the delegation meeting, was outreach to the board members. And I don't know if that, where we are with that, but I do think it's really important that they are stakeholders in this process too. They are the people that live, eat, and breathe their meetings and And I would like to hear their input as well. So if we have not made that formal invitation to them, I would kindly ask that the delegation do that.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, Delegate Lasanti. So at this point, I still have Delegate Inflair made a motion. And we then had a suggestion of an amendment, which he did not accept to his motion. So the amendment's off the table at this point. So we have Delegate Inflair's motion to hold off and have a separate meeting with the stakeholders. So do we have a second on that? I'm sorry, was that Delegate Johnson?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, so Delegate Johnson has seconded that motion.
Can I have a restatement of the motion, please?
That Delegate Riley organizes a meeting with the people who can get us the answers to the questions that have been brought up about a financial advisor and about an attorney representing the school board.
Okay. Did you get that, Cindy?
Mhm.
She's trying to write it down, Delegate.
That was
Inflair.
very long. Thank you. Delegate Impelari would like Delegate Riley to organize a meeting with the people that can provide answers to the questions regarding the attorney and the financial analyst.
Right. And I'm sure Charity's going to be working on that for us too.
Okay.
Poor Charity gets volunteered for everything.
Well, yeah.
Was there, and Delegate Johnson second? Are you ready to take the vote, Delegate Riley?
Discussion.
Hold on one second. I have discussion and I have a hand up. And Delegate
Thank you.
Shalega.
Do you need a financial analyst or a budget analyst? Let's be, let's use the words we're looking for.
Delegate Blair, what did you
Financial
feel?
I would,
advisors,
Delegate Shalega, is it a tomato or is it a tomato?
Well, you did
so
hear
that's-
Delegate
it's the
Lasanti.
same,
Yes.
a financial and a budget. Look, you discuss the finances and you end up with a budget. The budget is made up with the finances. They're all the same. It's
after
the same.
20 years, after you being here 20 years, I would think you would know which word you mean. So do you mean a budget analyst? Is that what you're looking for? And a financial advisor?
I would think the person can do both jobs. I think they could hire the right attorney. He could be the attorney and do both of those jobs. I would think that a financial, and a CPA is going to discuss everything right up to the final, and he's going to discuss the end result. It's all the same. So
yeah, unicorns are alive too. Thank you.
Thank you too. Okay. Delegate Lasanti. Where'd you go? Unmute yourself.
Sorry. I'm looking at the communication from the Board of Education where it indicates that there are currently 4 positions, 2 full-time auditors. Well, there are 2 full-time auditors, a chief auditor, and an internal auditor. If there are in fact 4 positions, I'd like to have a better understanding of their role, who appoints them, what their scope of services are. So I think it's laid out in the correspondence that we have received from Ms. Latter from the Board of Ed.
Yes, I do have that. Thank you, Delegate Lasanti. Very good. Okay, so we'll see if those folks can join us the next time. And Delegate Arcan.
Yeah, my comments just on the budget situation. There are certified financial planners. So if that's what we want, we should definitely spell that out. And there's no certified budget analyst to my knowledge. So it's really like a career title, like a job title, but not an actual certification. And the CPA is something totally different than that. So, if we're going to get to the nitty gritty and we're really going to dig into this, we should make sure we use the accurate words so that they are hiring who we intend for them to hire and not someone who may not have, like, you don't need a CPA to do budget analysis. It's unnecessary. It'll be an extra expense as well. And you definitely don't need a lawyer to do it. That is like really not necessary.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Arcan, for that definition. And do I see another hand? No, Delegate Schlegel's hands down. Okay, so Cindy, we have a first on the table, and that was from Delegate Blair. We have second, and that was from Delegate Johnson. And basically it's to wait, and I will schedule a meeting for hopefully the 4 employees, full-time, part-time, whatever they may be, that are currently working for the school board now to come to speak with us so that we can have questions and answers by the actual folks that are doing the jobs. Okay. So that's the motion on the table. So could you have roll call, please?
Delegate McComas.
You're on mute. Delegate McComas, you're on mute.
Apologize. I was reading something else. So what's the motion? What am I voting for?
The motion is we are holding for until I set the next meeting, whether it's a delegation meeting or before, to have the employees that are employed by the school board to come and speak before us so we can ask them questions about their job and what they currently do.
Yeah, aye.
Okay.
Delegate Arakan.
Yeah, that's fine.
Delegate Griffith.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you, Delegate Griffith.
Email me your name and address.
Yes.
Because we've got to make sure.
Delegate
Okay,
Impalaria.
Delegate, go on mute. Delegate McComas. Sorry, Cindy.
Delegate Impalaria.
Yes.
Delegate Johnson.
Aye.
Delegate Lasanti.
Aye.
Delegate Shalega.
Yes.
Delegate Riley.
Yes.
Delegate Riley, I think perhaps the Charity had some information for you.
Oh, okay. Is she on?
She is on.
Oh, there she is. Hi, Charity.
Hi, yes, I'm on. I did get a response, but I gave a little disclaimer that the response I got from the Attorney General's office was it was a very quick turnaround, and it's not a formal opinion. They did seem to think that they don't see any problem with mandating that appropriation in the bill.
Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you for that.
Well, that motion passed, Delegate Riley.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, Cindy. So
And
the
Delegate
motion,
Riley, I'll try to stop by your office tomorrow to have a better list of questions that we might want to get. Like, we should really see the personnel description, the job description of each one of those people. That should exist. So we should.
thank you. I appreciate that. So we don't keep prolonging this. So if anybody, has any certain thing that you want somebody else to speak with, because we do, we are only here. We keep saying 90 days, but we have to get it done before crossover. So it's not quite 90 days. And obviously the hearings will already be over with, but that's fine. We can still, get our letters, and it'll just sit in committee until they get our letters of support or what have you. But we do like to work in a prompt fashion. So thank you all. Thank you for our guests earlier, if you're still on the line, or any of those public that are watching us on YouTube. We do try to do the people's work here, and I thought it was a good session, and we will keep you up to date of when the next meeting is. It may or may not be this week. It just depends when we can get those folks to come in and speak with us. And we also, want our delegation there. So it may not be during the evening. Everybody has subcommittees, so it might be a little difficult to get it other than on our regular meetings. So I will keep you up to date, and we'll work on it as soon as possible. And delegation, if you have any questions or other folks that you want to be at that meeting, please get it to us ASAP so that we can have a meeting, a great meeting the next time with all of our answers, and we can actually make a motion, move the bill, and get something done. So thank you all for your.
I make a motion to end.
Second. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. You have a good evening.
Bye. Thank you.